the latter part of class 8 and class 9. Um, thank you so much for coming. It's my true honor to be here with you and share these teachings. Before we get started, let's take a moment to be very clear uh, about our motivation for being here, for taking this course, and for being here right now in this moment. Get a feeling for how much right now on just our planet alone, how many beings are suffering, even if we just look at the obvious suffering, the suffering of suffering. There are so many people who are starving. Millions and millions and millions of people who are starving. There's so many people who are sick with some disease, some illness, in physical pain. So many millions and millions of people are experiencing the pain of getting older, of their bodies not functioning like they once did, their bodies not recovering from small issues like they once did. There's so many millions who are living under the threat of violence, either experiencing it directly from people they know, people they don't know. So many millions being hunted and killed. So many millions of beings that live in water are consuming these tiny little tiny pieces of plastic and dying. So many millions and millions, billions of people right now are suffering. And in our current state, we can't truly help them. Even if we were the richest person on the planet, we would not be able to help every one of them. What stops us is not how much money we have or don't have. What stops us is we can't see exactly what each being needs right at this moment to best help them. And what stops us is we have only this one body. We can only help one or a few more at a time. We can't emanate to each one of the billions to help them directly. But we can in the future. We can become a being like that. A being who, whose heart is just so big. Boundless love for every other being. Endless wisdom. That knows precisely what to say and do. And by coming here to this class, may we become closer to becoming that kind of being. Sashi Buki Jukshin Me Togtra Vira Blingshi Ninde Kempadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Owagi Jokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Yidam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami. Sangye Chudan Suki Chuknam La Changchu pardu dakni kyapsu chi. Daki chishe gipe sunam ki. Jola penshir sangye juparsho. Sangye chudan suki chukdam la. Changchu pardu dakni kyapsu chi. Daki chishe gipe sunam ki. Jola Pinshir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknamla Jangchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinshir Sangye Druparsho. Okay, so today we're going to finish the secondary vows that are covered in class 8 reading and class 8 homework and all of that. So after today's class, you will be able to do both class 8 and class 9 homework. Fingers crossed, because it's a lot. We're going to cover 20 secondary vows today. But if you do have questions, please do. I've got the chat open, so I can see questions there. Okay. So we were in the middle of secondary offenses that work against the practice of the perfection of concentration. And we actually just have one left, one vow. There are 3 that work against our practice of the perfection of concentration. So we're now on vow 26. And this one is called the secondary offense of considering the pleasant sensation of meditation to be an important personal attainment. Jason Kappa explains this is happening after you reach the ability to meditate deeply. And I've no doubt that some of you have had this experience as well, that it feels quite pleasant as we advance up through the stages, as we we advance through the levels, and we can keep our mind on the object, and we've become quite skilled at stopping agitation and drowsiness, and we've become skilled at more subtle occurrences. But even if we get to the point where we have reached single-pointed concentration, where our mind is perfectly on the object, if after we get off the cushion we say, "Oh, I had a good meditation," I want to go back. and do that again. And we become attracted to how it feels, both mentally and physically, to be in that state of meditation. And we sort of put off to the wayside the content of our meditation. You know, from that platform, we should be using it constantly to work on seeing emptiness directly and not get sidetracked by the pleasant sensations. Because it does feel quite good to be single pointed, you know, once you once you are, you know, out of that meditation, because when you are single pointed, you are just focused on the content, right? You're not focused on how you feel physically or mentally. You've reached that state where you don't have to think about those things. It does feel good. So this is the danger of this would work against your being able to see emptiness directly if you become so attached to that sensation, those sensations. It's still a kind of suffering. Those pleasant sensations, because they will end. It's the suffering of change. Jure dugno. So now we'll go on to cover the secondary offenses that work against our practice of the perfection of wisdom. Number 27. This is the secondary offense of rejecting the way of the listeners. We've had similar vows, but this one is where you say that bodhisattvas should not listen to teachings of the lower way, teachings of the listeners, teachings on the four Arya truths, for example. But we know, because we've been taught so well, that these teachings are the very foundation for all the other teachings. So this one is different from a total rejection of the whole system of the lower way. This is just saying that those who are bodhisattvas shouldn't follow it. So that's the distinction here. And fortunately, we have been so well trained that we know that our teachers have told us that those foundational teachings are important along the whole path. Secondary offense number 28. This is the offense of making efforts in another system when our own system is available. So what this means is we should know the teachings of the lower way very well, but we should not uh, throw ourselves into those teachings at the expense of the teachings regarding the the Mahayana, the greater vehicle. Uh, so don't give up the Mahayana teachings in order to spend time in the Hinayana teachings. You will find a balance. I think, personally speaking, that motivation is a big part of it. If you are learning the the teachings of the lower way, uh, especially for the purpose of being able to pass them on to others who are new to Buddhism, for example, in order to bring someone along in the Buddhist teachings. If you have that kind of motivation, uh, that would be a positive thing. Like, just my personal hint is no matter what you do, or I should say, with everything you do, um, make your motivation as big as possible. That you can help countless living beings by doing whatever it is you're doing, eating, drinking, sleeping, uh, studying the four Arya truths, uh, that everything with that motivation uh, that makes it a Mahayana practice, a greater vehicle practice, and you won't be at risk of uh, of breaking this vow. 29. The secondary offense of making efforts in non-Buddhist texts where no efforts should be made. And what this one is talking about is other religions or other forms of philosophy. Um, it's not talking about, learning how to uh, learning how to cook or something like that, learning how to do baking or learning how to code a computer. The this is not about being sectarian. It's not about saying uh, that other religions are not important. They are. They are helpful to people. Um, the danger is in getting uh, attracted to practice some other religion at the expense, again, of practicing the greater vehicle, the Mahayana. If you're well grounded in these teachings, if you're well grounded in your practice, uh, then it would be okay. But be very careful. We only have we're in this situation that is quite extraordinary right now. We are human beings. We have intelligence. We have interest. And we have the ability to practice the Buddha Dharma. And that is extremely rare and extremely precious and extremely short. The Dalai Lama says it's like a flash of lightning in the sky. That's how short our time is here. So if you are going to study some other religion, for the purpose of understanding, for example, how best to communicate with someone who follows that religion, then okay, do it for a little bit, but don't spend too much time. There's 84,000 Buddhist teachings. There's plenty to keep us busy while we're here in this particular lifetime that we're in right now. Vow number 30. This is the secondary offense of being attracted, even in the case where one must make efforts. So what this means is, okay, you're already an extraordinary Buddhist practitioner. You're well versed in Buddhist teaching. You know them very well. You're practicing very well. But you go to study something else, again, just to understand how to help other people who follow those other teachings. But you start getting too attracted to it. You start spending more and more time on that and less time on your Buddhist practice. That's when you've broken the vow. The Buddhist path is a true path. If we follow it, we can see directly and clearly how things are, truly. And by seeing that, we can break out of the apparently never-ending cycle of suffering that we find ourselves in. There's no other religion that has these teachings. That's not to say they're not beneficial. They are beneficial to those people who are attracted to them. But will those people, by practicing those other religions, get out of suffering? Is it possible they could reach nirvana? Is it possible they could become totally enlightened? No. It's only by seeing directly in meditation the nature of how things exist that we can enter that stream that leads directly to getting out of suffering, of not suffering, and with a heart filled with love for all other beings. It leads us directly to become totally awake and totally able to help all living beings. So be careful. Be careful. Vow 31. The secondary offense of rejecting the greater way. At this point in the text, there's this is talking about Jason Kappa's text, which we don't have in the reading all the time, but Geshe Michael used this text in these descriptions of the vows. But Maitreya says, Jason Kappa quotes Maitreya as saying that if you find that some Buddhist teaching, you hear something in a talk, and it doesn't quite sit right with you, it puzzles you, or you don't understand it, or you're not sure of its value in your practice, be very careful about saying or thinking, this is no good. This is not right. This is not true. Because when you say that, when we think that, we are, of course, planting seeds in our mind. And planting seeds that reject some aspect of the Buddha's teachings, as they grow, they will have horrific results. I mean, one of the reasons why the life we have right now of having an interest in the Buddha's teachings is so rare, right? It and incredibly expensive, karmically speaking. It takes, we're spending huge amounts of our karmic pocketbook on studying these teachings, on having an interest. That's why it's so important to recall our motivation for being in a class, to dedicating our efforts at the end of class, to continuing to reach the state where we can help all beings, and important to, at the end of the day, rejoice that we have this precious life, that we used the day well in the way we did. We used our day and our time to practice, whether it's meditation or helping other people. So if we hear something that just doesn't sound right, That's a karmic seed ripening. We don't have to, we don't have to make a decision like this is bad. Maitreya suggests we put it up on the shelf, that we have a shelf labeled check out later, and just put it on that shelf. And do remember you have things on that shelf. Do remember that as you have the opportunity in your study, in your meeting with other practitioners, bring up that question. Find work on finding the resolution, but you don't have to. You don't have to decide like right now. It's either good or bad. You can put it on the shelf. You can think about it later. So don't reject it, but just leave it alone. If it's in the Mahayana teachings, if it's in the teachings related to the greater vehicle, we should learn it. Everything was taught for a purpose, for our purpose, for your purpose, in reaching the highest possible state. And just plant the seeds to be able to recognize everything as that, as being beneficial to your practice. Okay. Number 32, the secondary offense of praising oneself and criticizing others. This has the same wording as the root vow, right? So how is it different with the secondary offense? Is that it's a different motivation. The motivation in the root vow was desire. We desire fame, material gain or fame, right? That was the root vow. Here, in the secondary vow, the motivation is anger, pride, or self-cherishing. The first nyeme, remember nyeme are exceptions, times when you wouldn't break this vow. The first is if you have to praise your system and criticize another system that is harmful to people. So if someone is out spreading some some wrong ideas like the way to heaven is to kill people, or we'll never be happy unless uh, you hold on to everything that you have and never share, or something like that. uh, or emptiness means uh, you can do whatever you want. So if someone says things like that, you can criticize them. You should criticize what it is they say, not them. They are a suffering living being. They are under the delusion of thinking that harming other people can bring a good result. Have compassion for them, but have no qualms, no second thoughts about criticizing the ideas that they're sharing. So that's the first Nieme. If you have to do it, if someone is out there teaching things that are very harmful to others, then you must criticize what they're saying. The second is if you're a very high bodhisattva and you want to teach someone a valuable lesson, and we talked before about what kind of bodhisattva you have to be with your trillions of years of experience, with your never-ending love for them. And then the third exception is like advertising yourself. If you're going to lead a program or give a teaching on the Buddhist teachings. So if you can say positive things about yourself for the purpose of attracting others to the teachings, not so much to you personally, individually, but to what it is that you want to share. Number 33. The secondary offense of not going to hear the Dharma. So this is not going to a Dharma talk out of laziness, or you just don't feel like it, or you're too prideful. I know better than that person. Or I already know all this stuff. Or it's being taught by someone you consider as your peer. There are some exceptions of when it is okay not to go and hear a Dharma teaching. When you're sick, when you're not able to go, like it's on the other side of the planet, if you weren't aware of it, if you have a suspicion that the person teaching it doesn't know what they're talking about, if you are already a master of the subject, if you are in deep retreat and you can't break your retreat. And then the last one Jason Kappa mentions is if it might upset your Dharma teacher. The 34th vow, this is the secondary offense of focusing on the vessel and the letters. This is to put down your Dharma teacher. That the Dharma teacher is the vessel. Putting down your Dharma teacher in the ultimate sense means not seeing that person as the Buddha themselves. In other courses, we've talked about how this person who is teaching you the Dharma is representing all Buddhas. They're your connection. They've received the teachings from their teacher, who received from their teacher, who received from their teacher, all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha. Depending on the letters means focusing on the presentation and not the content. So this is like getting hung up on how attractive the person is or how well spoken they are, if they're poetic or not, if they're charismatic. Those qualities maybe attract you to the teachings, but once you're attracted, let go of all of that. It doesn't matter whether the teacher is handsome or not. Listen to the content of the teaching. Recognize that these teachings come through a lineage from the Buddha. Geshe Michael mentioned that this could also apply to books. So, for example, there was an early translation of Master Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which is an extraordinary text. It really is. It is a poem. And this translation was very beautiful, but he said it was all wrong. So we've got to be careful. Remember, we are creatures of the desire realm. So we shouldn't put too much faith in what we get attracted to or not. See it as a karmic ripening. Look at the content. Okay, that's the end of class 8. So now we're going on to class 9. So what we've done so far in the first 34 vows, secondary vows, is we've covered the vows, the offenses which would be working against our practice of the six perfections, right? And now the rest of the vows are related to offenses against the morality of working for others. Remember, we had those three types of morality, right? So the first section of vows we went through were working against the second morality, which is collecting goodness, right? And now these are against the morality of working for others. Okay. 35. The secondary offense of failing to assist someone who's in need. So what this means is not helping someone who needs it. It's pretty straightforward. Our way of life as a person who has the wish to benefit all living beings is to help others. If we're there and we can help, we should help. It should bring joy to us that we can help someone else, right? There's a classic list, and it will be on your homework. The classic list that they give. So, helping someone who is just starting a task. Geshe Michael mentioned this Tibetan proverb, Ka Mong Po Duk and Lakpa Mong Po Ser. And these will be on the Tibetan sheet, but I'm not going to share that with you because we just have to move so quickly. It'll be on the platform. Lakpa Mong Po Ser means many hands are gold. So by helping each other, right? If we're all helping each other, that's many hands, right? And Ka Mong Po Du means when many people are giving advice, that's like poison. Many hands are gold. Many people giving advice is poison. That's like standing off in the corner and, oh yeah, move those over there. Oh, someone has to clean the kitchen. Did you notice it's dirty? It would be really good if you could go clean it instead of just going to clean it. Second one, someone who's trying to get somewhere, someone who's traveling, someone who is trying to learn a language. You can especially dedicate that helping someone who's trying to learn a language to learn the language of your teacher or to learn Tibetan language so you can help preserve the teachings. Next one, someone who is trying to learn a skill as long as what they're trying to learn is not harmful. Like, you don't have to go help someone who's learning how to design weaponry or something like that. The next one is someone who is trying to protect their belongings. Like if you notice you're walking down the street. Oh, this happened to me in an elevator in New York City. Um, I, I always lived in smaller places, and I went to New York City, and I had my purse over my shoulder, which is good. You know, you don't want it just on one shoulder, but over like this. But it was unzipped. And so I walk into this elevator, and the woman said, "Zip up your bag." Like she was very fierce about it, but she was trying to help me protect what little money I had. Protect someone who's trying to fix a split between people, someone who's trying to bring other people together, help them. Someone who's planning a virtuous event of some kind. Like if you're going to Kyoto, or even if you're not going to Kyoto for Geshe Michael's teachings, is there some way that you could help with the production of those teachings? And next is someone who is undertaking a more general virtue. So those are 8 examples. And the exceptions are if you're sick, if you've already agreed to help someone else at the moment, if you are already engaged in something that is more important spiritually, if you can refer them to someone else who can help them, like you don't have the time, you are working on something that's more important, you can always refer them to somebody else. If you uh, if you realize that they're just too thick-headed, they're too dull to learn a language, you don't have to teach them. I know that's a dangerous one. Make sure that your judgment is accurate and you're not being lazy instead. And then here's a cute one. If you're not very good at teaching, uh, you and you won't break your vow if you don't teach them learning a new language, for example. If you realize you don't have the capacity to help somebody, it's okay that you don't do it because you can't. There's more. If the person wants to do something that's harmful, no, don't help them. You won't break the vow. And then if they have other means of assistance, if there are others who can help, then you don't break this vow. Again, for extraordinary bodhisattvas, if you want to teach the person a lesson by not helping them, if it would upset a great number of people, if a great number of people would get angry or freaked out if they saw you helping this person, then don't help them. And if it would be against the code of monks, and this is if you are a monastic, and I should say the Vinaya code. If you are a Vinaya person, if you have vows and the other person has vows, if it would be working against the vows that you have, then you don't have to do it. Okay, I'm going to really speed up now. So hang on. Number 36, the secondary offense of failing to serve the sick. If you see someone who's sick, or you know of someone who is sick, help them. There are two states of mind. There are two states of mind, two motivations that are very common, Jason Kappa says, as motivation for breaking secondary vows. And we'll just go through them quickly. The first is called narsem, which means the desire to hurt someone. So that's a sick motivation for a bodhisattva, right? To want to hurt someone. And the second one is anger. So these are two classic negative emotions that inspire us to break our secondary vows. And Jason Kappa is tired of writing or having someone carve out wanting to hurt someone in anger so many times that he just calls them the two states of mind. Semni. So when you hear the two states of mind, you know he's talking about wanting to hurt someone or anger. Those are they call them, these are the ones that are the strongest negative emotions, or sometimes Geshe Michael will say kleshik. The Sanskrit word is klesha, which is a negative emotion. So when your mind is overcome by a negative emotion like anger, jealousy, we can see those really take over our minds. Those are the two strong kleshik states of mind. Then there are other motivations for breaking the secondary vows that aren't they're called non-kleshik, but I mean they're still not great, right? It's not like you're overcome. It's not like your mind is overcome. But those Jason Kappa calls the other two states of mind. So we've got the two states of mind, Semni, and then we've got the other two states of mind, which is Sem Shenni. The first one is Lelo, which is laziness. Laziness. Jason Kappa says that in the context of the Bodhisattva vows, laziness means some sort of enjoyment about doing things wrong. And then the second one is Nyomle, which means that you don't have much respect for the vows. So they're both laziness. Both of these two are laziness. But the first one is laziness about seeing negative things as leading to a negative result, right? Not thinking that doing negative things is the wrong thing to do. And then Yongle, the other laziness is a laziness about respect. So we have to make efforts for respect for our vows. They are the very thing that will take us to enlightenment, total enlightenment. We should have great respect for them. There are some exceptions. If you're sick, what was the vow again? Do you remember? You got sidetracked by the two motivations. Failing to serve the sick, right? Did someone write it in the chat? I covered up the chat. So exceptions. If you're sick, you don't have to help someone who is sick. Probably best that you don't help someone who is sick if you're sick. If you don't particularly get along with the person and it might upset everybody, you don't break the vow, you don't help the person who is sick. If you've already committed your time to another person who is sick, if you are in a position where you can refer them to someone else who can help them, it's okay if you don't serve them. If they already have enough assistance, if all their needs are being met, you don't have to help them. If they have a disease a sickness where they are mainly self-sufficient, you don't have to help them. You wouldn't be breaking your vow if you didn't help them. I should put it that way. And the other exception here is if you are engaged in some extremely important spiritual work and it would interrupt that work. So, for example, if you are in retreat, you're in a deep retreat, you would not break your bodhisattva vow if you did not leave your retreat to go help them. 37, the secondary offense of failing to remove suffering. So if you see anyone in obvious physical or mental pain, help them. You don't help them, you're breaking a bodhisattva vow. We can only do what we are able to do. If we are not a mental health professional, you're not required to, you wouldn't be breaking your vow if you just don't know what to say or what to do, or you don't have the capability of helping that person. But you can help in trying to find someone else who can help them. That would be helping them. So the examples of people who are suffering is someone who is in some way challenged in movement or in thinking, someone who's in obvious pain, someone who can't see or can't hear, someone who has problems with walking, someone who's depressed, someone who suffered from having been beaten, whether that's physical or mental. And the exceptions here are the same as for vow 36. So I'm not going to read them all again. Number 38, the secondary offense of failing to give good reasons to those who are acting in a dangerous way. And this refers to people who are acting in a karmically dangerous way, who are being careless in their, I mean, what we can see as their body or their speech. Maybe we can infer what they're thinking by what they're saying. So what this means is, this is particularly having to do with people who are our Dharma brothers and sisters. But also it means other people as well. But what this means is that we should reason with people who are doing something that will harm themselves or other people in this life or in a future life. Should try to talk them out of it. Try to explain why it's wrong. So, for example, I'm constantly trying to talk my government out of spending money to support war. You know, they're not. It's not a Buddhist government, but what they're doing is they're creating huge negative karma by bombing fishing boats off of Venezuela. So, like that. There are exceptions. One is if you're not capable of explaining why it's wrong, you would not break the vow. If you can refer them to someone who can explain it properly, you don't break the vow if you don't explain it directly yourself. If you know that, let's say this is like with Dharma friends, if you know that the other person is gonna like snap to it, like wake up and go, oh gosh, what did I just do? Like if you know they're going to correct themselves in the next moment, then you wouldn't break your vow if you didn't try to reason with them. You another exception is if you know their personal Dharma teacher will correct them if they have their own geshe. If the person hates you and you know that they would do the opposite if you tried to talk them out of doing something negative, then don't do it. It would be counterproductive. Similarly, if they won't accept any reasoning from you, don't try. And then last, of course, is the one about teaching a lesson if you're an extraordinary bodhisattva. 39. The secondary offense of failing to repay someone who has helped you by helping them back. The motivation here would be a desire to hurt someone, or this motivation of you just never think about what they did for you. And then the other two states of mind, those two kinds of laziness. And then a fourth possible motivation is you you don't repay someone's help because you can't outdo them. So apparently in some cultures, there is a custom where if someone does something for you, uh, when you repay them, when you do something back for them, uh, it's a little bit better, or it's a little bit shinier. It's a little uh, to show your gratitude, right? It makes sense to show your gratitude that they benefited you. You want to do something that's like, see, I really do appreciate it. And it's a little bit better. And so there's this, there gets to be a cycle. And it gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And, pretty soon, can you even afford to pay them back? So if you don't try to repay them back and you have this kind of attitude, then you would be breaking your bodhisattva vow. You don't have to, we don't have to repay people. Repaying does not mean it in the exact same way or better than. Be kind. Repay with kindness. If you want to help someone who has shown you kindness before, and you want to repay that kindness, but you're waiting for a good opportunity, you're not breaking your bodhisattva vow. But don't let this turn into laziness. And then the other exception is if you don't want to repay because you are a high bodhisattva level and you want to teach them a lesson. And the last one is if the person really would prefer that you not pay them back. They would be embarrassed or uncomfortable if you gave them some gift. Vow number 40. The secondary offense of failing to dispel another person's grief. The exceptions are the same as with number 35 about failing to assist someone in need. So this is someone feeling grief. They've just lost their parent or their child. Things like that. Number 41. The secondary offense of failing to give money or other material things to someone who wants them. So, not giving material assistance to someone who needs it. It sounds like the second root downfall, right? And the motivation in the root downfall was because we don't do it because we have attachment to that thing. Like, no, I need all my money. I'm attached to all my money. I can't give you anything, even though you could. Remember those exceptions with that vow was if you had it, then you should give it. If you don't have it, you can't give it. It's not breaking vow. So here in the secondary vows, it's when you do it for a less powerful motivation. So anything other than attachment. So Jason Kappa says the two states of mind or the other two states of mind. wanting to harm someone, anger. We just don't think it's the good thing to do. And because we don't really care about our else. Any of those four. Exceptions. If you don't have the thing that they want, you don't break the vow. If what they want would be harmful for them in this life or in a future life, you would not break the vow if you didn't help them. If you want to teach them a lesson and you're a very high bodhisattva, Jason Kappa says, if it would hurt the king, so this is like, I don't know, something like someone wants a gun so they can go kill the president or something. You don't have to give them a gun, but that would be harming others anyway. So I think it's because back in the old days, maybe, I mean, some cultures, maybe there's a little bit of this, but in most cultures, the Dharma is not at risk of like, if it were to fall out of favor with the head of a country, then it would disappear or people would be imprisoned or whatever. In most countries, people can think whatever they want, right? Can practice whatever religion they want. Not every country. So it's important that way. And then amongst monastics, if it would break Vinaya rules. Number 42. Secondary offense of failing to fill the needs of your circle of disciples. So when you're teaching, this is failing to take care of the needs of your students. So one is their spiritual needs by teaching them, and the other is their physical needs. So this is coming from the tradition of monasticism, of people, mainly it was boys, like the family would send one boy to a monastery, and then the monastery would then take care of them. The monastery would feed them, would clothe them, would house them, would teach them. They would do everything for them. So I think that's why you see physical needs as being part of fulfilling the needs of students. The exceptions are if you're too sick to help them or to teach them to fulfill their needs. If you're trying to teach a lesson, you're a high bodhisattva. If it would break the Vinaya, if they're completely capable, like they have an inheritance, or they have a job, or right, they have everything they need. There's not more you have to give them. That's more the physical side of things. And then the next exception is if you see that no matter how much you taught them, they would never change. If the student is incorrigible, do you know this word, incorrigible? If they're always like, I have another phrase in English called bullheaded. if they're like stuck in their ways, if they're so rigid in their thinking that they can't break out of their thinking to practice what you teach, and if they're sort of they cause they like disturb other students in their stubbornness, um, then you don't have to, you wouldn't be breaking your vows if you didn't fulfill their needs. 43, the secondary offense of failing to get along with someone, failing to get along with others. Basically, the motivation here is, again, those famous ones that Jason Kappa mentioned. Some feeling of hatred or laziness. And you don't make an effort to reach out to the person that you don't get along with. So there are lots of cases that are exceptions, a lot of exceptions, I should say. If in your best judgment, it wouldn't help things. Like maybe you had an argument and it's too soon, things are too volatile. If things would get worse, if you're too sick, if getting along with them would mean that you would be engaging in something harmful to them or to other people. If the other person is so angry that it's likely you would become angry if you went to them to try and get along, wait until things have calmed down. You're not breaking the vow at that moment. If it would if you're in the Vinaya and it would break a code, you would not break this vow if you didn't approach them. If it's someone who is teaching something harmful or incorrect, again, it's important that we stand up for the correct teachings. And then finally, if you're trying to teach a lesson. 44, the secondary offense of failing to praise someone's good qualities. So we should, whenever we can, reflect on the good qualities of others and share with them. Exceptions are if you're sick, or if you're waiting for a better opportunity, or if you feel they would be uncomfortable if you praise them, or if you can't think of anything to say. In other words, you don't have to make things up. Then we have our exception of to teach a lesson if you're an extraordinary bodhisattva. But also there's this exception if you withhold praise because, let's say they're a very close Dharma friend, and you know them, and then if you praise them about something, like they have a problem with pride, and you know them very well, then don't pump them up with more praise if it's going to feed that pride that they're trying to work against, right? 45th, oh, I have to at least say the last two vows. Okay. 45, the secondary offense of failing to cut someone off when the time has come to do so. 3 meanings of cutting someone off. One is to say something harsh to them, to stop them from whatever it is they're doing. The second is to punish them. And the third is to expel them from the group. And that is it. That's a very drastic measure. And it should be a last resort. Everyone has value. We should love everyone. But if it's too harmful for the group, their behavior, then we must cut them off. The normal sorts of exceptions, you're waiting for a better chance or the best opportunity to do so. They're not, if they're not going to listen to you, if you know they will correct themselves. And the new one is that if expelling that person from the group, expelling that person from the group, if half the other people in the room would leave, if half the group would leave, then you don't break the vow if you don't expel the person. 46. And I apologize for going long. The secondary offense of failing to use your supernormal powers to threaten someone or such when needed. So this is an oral tradition. You're now a member of this oral tradition from Geshe Michael. You're in this lineage, and if you have the power to do a miracle, and if you practice these teachings, you will eventually come to have the ability to perform miracles. You are not allowed to do it. Generally speaking, don't be showing miracles. And when the time comes, you must do a miracle. If it would make a difference. Normally speaking, miracles are not helpful for people. But there are, if you are at the state where you have the ability to perform miracles, you also very likely have the ability to see when they're necessary to perform. Okay. So I apologize for going long. And I didn't finish. But we finished the 46 vows. We finished the secondary vows. So rejoice about that. And there's more to talk about. There's more to talk about so that you can do your homework and also keep your vows well. That's the most important thing. Okay, so again, I apologize. Again, I love you. Again, you live translators are I don't know, you're the most precious people on the planet. Thank you so, so much. Thank you all for your practice. And I promise next time I will do it all, the rest of this class and class 10. So don't forget to dedicate, don't forget to rejoice, and I'll see you in 2 days.
Спасибо, дорогая. Лучше раз.